Hi Year 11, today I'm going to talk you through the AS Psychology course here at Liswerry. So first of all, the AS Psychology course is broken down into 2 units. The first unit is called Psychology Past to Present, and it's worth 50%, as is the second unit, Unit 2, Using Psychological Concepts, and that's also worth 50%. So the first unit is an hour and a half. The exam will be an hour and a half. It's worth 80 marks, and it's worth 20% of the overall A-level qualification. Likewise, the Unit 2 is also an exam that's an hour and a half, and it's worth 80% of the A-level qualification. 80 marks and 20% of the A-level qualification. In the first unit, Unit 1, Psychology Past to Present, you will be studying the 5 different approaches in psychology. So these approaches are the biological approach, the psychodynamic approach, the behaviorist approach, the cognitive approach, and the positivist approach. Now, in those different approaches, you'll be looking at different areas. So you'll be looking at the assumptions in each approach. You'll be looking at how, you'll be examining how relationships are formed. You'll be looking at one therapy. You'll be looking at the evaluation of that therapy. You'll then go back and look at some of the classic evidence around that approach in psychology. And then at the end, you'll evaluate that entire approach. There are some key skills that you're going to need in order to undertake this course and this unit in the course. And that's you need to be quite analytical. You need to be able to form and develop your arguments. And you also need a good standard of literacy in order to communicate those answers in your exam. The second unit is called Using Psychological Concepts, and that's more the scientific understanding of psychology. So that's broken down into two sections, Section A and Section B. Now, Section A is the contemporary debate, because that's linked to what you'll learn in Unit 1. So, for example, you'll look at the different assumptions in Unit 1, and then you look at current debates around those assumptions. So we look at 5 different debates related to those 5 assumptions. We look at the ethics of neuroscience. We look at the mother as the primary caregiver. We look at using conditioning to control behavior. We look at the reliability of eyewitness testimony, including that of children. And we look at the relevance of the positive approach in psychology. And then Section B, the second section, is more what you're used to when you study a science. It's the principles of research and the application of these research methods. So you'll be looking at the scientific method to do with psychology, about how we carry out research. So you'll be looking at elements such as the experimental method, where you'll be looking at the different variables that we use, for example, the independent, the dependent, and the control variables, or the extraneous variables. You'll be looking at the reliability and validity. You'll be looking at ethics. You'll be looking at setting a hypothesis and the different types of hypothesis we use in psychology. You'll be looking at data and data analysis. You'll be looking at how we sample in order to carry out a piece of research. Then you'll be looking at research design. And then you'll be looking at the different types of experiments we can carry out in psychology. Now, there are some key skills that you are going to need in order to be able to do this successfully at AS level. And that is, you're going to have to be able to use your mathematical skills that you studied at GCSE. So you'll have to be able to use things like the mean, median, mode, and range. You'll have to be able to work those out. You'll have to be able to look at correlation. So you'll have to be able to look at some data and tell me if there's positive correlations or negative correlations or no correlations between the different variables. And that's something that we will recap and we will go through as we learn on the AS course. You'll also need an understanding of the scientific method. So you'll need a little bit of basis about what you've already studied in your science GCSEs. But we will recap that and we'll go through that in the Unit 2, the AS course. And finally, you'll have to bring that knowledge of understanding how an experiment is conducted, how research is conducted. But once again, we'll recap that, we'll go through that. But it's good to bring that prior knowledge that you've learned in other subjects before you come onto the course. Now, where can you go with psychology? So if you chose to take psychology, it's a good starting point if you wanted to do that at university and carry on with university. And there are lots of related university courses that are to do with different areas and different disciplines in psychology. For example, you can look at child psychology, sports psychology, educational psychology, developmental psychology. All of these are based on the foundations that you will learn on the AS and later the A2 course. But there's loads of different fields you can go into. It's not just psychology that you can go into. So if you have a look now, I've put on the screen a few different subject areas and different professions where psychology will come in handy. So it's not just if you wanted to study psychology at university. Finally, if you do have any questions, you're welcome to contact us. And I hope to see some of you in September.